I never went live.
Oh,
I
no.
hit the wrong button. We have done nothing. We are live now. Folks, we have been recording the show. If you're just tuning in or wondering where we have been, we have been doing the show for 3 minutes, and I didn't hit go live. And that is why I am a professional podcaster. No, not at all. You know, when I couldn't get on Instagram, I didn't know what was going on. That's because StreamYard wasn't going. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is very redundant for us. Welcome to The Art Will Not Be Changing, the Fugitive Poems show, and episode 4 and a quarter, because we already did a little bit of it. This is a hell of a rehearsal. We have on today Stephen Beccia, and we're going to talk in a moment. But first, I want to remind you to go to fugitivepoems.com for all your fugitive needs. We've got our anthology series, Containment Breach, available both digitally and physically. River is going to the printer as the first issue of our absolutely batshit sci-fi series, going to the printer next week, and then will be available on digital and on physical. And it's got an awesome ad in it for Dirty Living, which we're going to be talking about today. Stephen's incredible comic with the unbelievable artist Ryan Santos. So tonight we're going to have a little writer-to-writer conversation now that we're actually on, and see really how this process happens and what inspires it. So, Stephen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All
and
right.
what I wanted to know is what got you writing? What made you start becoming a storyteller?
Again, I started writing poems when I was young. I started writing. I always wanted to write those stories and stuff. And then, I had kids, and I would tell them stories, and the kids were like, "Dad, you should write some of the stuff down." And I did. I wrote a book called The Treelanders, which, it was a good first try at writing and self-publishing, and it's a fantasy novel. And
What age group is it aimed at?
9 to 12, kind of like the Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter series, like that age group, young adult. And I just kept writing and just kept doing more and more writing. And then I started working for Bose, and I'm a technical writer there, and I'm publishing all this stuff online. And then I had this idea for this story, Dirty Living. And then, we can talk more about how it came about, but I just started writing that, and it's been an experience for sure trying to write comics, but it's I don't know, I love it. I just love writing. So, it definitely inspired by a few people: Stephen King, Frank Miller, J.K. Rowling. I know that they're not all comic books, but I mean, Frank Miller definitely. The Batman, The Dark Knight, and of course Sin City. That stuff is right up my alley.
Absolutely, same here.
Yeah.
What's you have kids, so we both know that with kids it's hard to get the ideal writing space. Imagine your ideal writing space and like setup. What is that?
I've always envisioned a spiral staircase that goes up to one of those little crow's nests or widow peaks or whatever they are, with a very dim lit light and just a laptop or whatever, and just writing right there in a little nook. That would be my ideal place to write. But
have you ever read Willa Cather's novel, The Professor's House?
I have not. No.
He gets that kind of set up in his attic.
Yeah.
And they end up moving and to another house, but he won't sell the old house. They're like, we got to sell it because that's his writing spot and he doesn't want to lose it.
Yeah.
Music on? Are you drinking alcohol, water, orange juice,
Nothing.
silence? What are you doing?
No. So one thing I've learned, and from reading Stephen King on writing, which is a phenomenal book.
Yeah, it is.
It he's always said that it's your space, it's your time. You can't do anything with people around. So when I wrote the Shreelanders, we had a sun porch, and I would go in, shut the doors, and I was there by myself, and I would write. Other than that, I would write during lunchtime at work on my laptop in a cemetery.
Really?
Oh yeah.
How goth.
It is, yeah. But it's beautiful. It's just quiet, and the vibe is so cool to be sitting there with a bunch of dead people. It's I mean, come on. It's weird, but it's really neat. So
what were you writing when you were there? What kind of stuff at that time?
horror stuff. I have I kind of wanted to revisit this story. It's called Black Vein. It's a vampire novel that I wrote, and now that I know more about writing, I want to revisit it again, but I want to revisit it in comic book form or graphic novel form, because that's what I now know that's what it's for. It's a really cool, fucked up story, about a vampire. Yeah, it's cool. But I wrote that in a cemetery.
I love that name, Black Vein.
Yeah. It's Vein.
I love it. Oh wow! I mean, it just conjures up an atmosphere instantly. I need absolute silence to write.
Yep.
I need. James is calling. I would normally not take a call during the show, but I wonder if he's telling me we're not coming through. James, you're live on The Art Will Not Be Changing, Ep.4.
We better be coming through.
Hey, I'm on the show right now. Is everything okay? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you didn't want it. Hold on. I'll send you a link. Okay. James wanted to be on with you.
Well, all right.
So let's get him on as well.
All right.
And here we go. I've never taken a call during a show before. So I was saying that I need absolute silence to write.
Yeah.
I need to be in the space of the story completely.
Yeah.
Despite my love of whiskey, I have to be stone cold sober to write.
Yeah.
I don't know. All my heroes were drunks. And I don't know how they did it because I can't put words together. It's like I don't even know the English language when I'm writing if I'm drinking, and so I don't understand that. I mean, Hemingway, Fitzgerald, all the way back, all my it was one of my favorite graphic novels. My heroes have always been junkies by Brubaker and Phillips. My heroes have always been drunks, and I don't know how the hell they did it. Hey, Jonathan Chiotis is on. Hello, Tom. Hello, Casey. Got some people here.
Awesome. I honestly, as you found out, and I put it in the script of issue 2. I was writing something, and I got big, and I was writing something, and I was laughing because I'm like, I loved what I wrote, and I just said, "P.S. Yes, I'm stoned," or something like that. And you caught that in the notes. I saw that.
I was laughing my ass off. It got really weird at one point, and then it's like, "Yes, I'm stoned right now," and I'm like, well, it's working.
It made sense, though. I think at least
it did. So, well, we got to talk about. So let's get over to Dirty Living because I want to talk about the writing, creative process, and whatnot.
Sure.
Where did Dirty Living come from?
I've always been inspired by mobster movies, crime noir. Sin City, the Whitey Bulger story in Boston, all that stuff. Fascinated by it. And then I just started, I don't know, I was just literally sitting at work. Sorry, Bose, but I wasn't working. And I started writing out the dialogue it was the very beginning of the first issue. And the words just started coming out, and I just wrote it. And I didn't. It's always the dialogue first, and then I can create the surroundings based on that dialogue. And that's how it started, really.
I shouldn't say it's always dialogue first for me, but probably 85% of the time it is.
Yeah.
I'll hear a conversation. Very often, what it is a sentence will come into my mind.
Yeah.
And then there'll be the response to that sentence. And I don't even know what the hell it is. When I wrote in Containment Breach 3, there's a story called Thermoclines that James drew. I was in the bathroom washing my hands, and a sentence came into my head. And the next thing I knew, it was a conversation. And I ran to my computer and I wrote it out, and I had 2 pages of just dialogue. And I'm like, what the hell are these guys doing? What's happening while this is going on?
Right.
But it all came from that. Other times I get the idea from I get a concept, and then I got to build the characters. Speaking of characters, here's James Mines. Welcome,
Hey, James.
What's up, guys? Sorry,
how are you?
I misunderstood. I thought you said you would never appear anywhere with Steven. That's what I thought. I'm sorry.
He was dying to get on this episode. What are you talking about?
So we've been talking about. By the way, we did 3 minutes of the show without being live because I'm a moron. So we had a nice rehearsal. We had a nice rehearsal period.
You can blame it on last night's whiskey.
That's right. I was more on top of things then. So you're really taken by the story of Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
And have you done a lot of reading on that?
Well, yeah. I've watched movies. I've watched documentaries. Lot of stuff on the mob. So, of course, a lot of mobster movies. So it's inspired me to just kind of go down a path. And kind of what you guys were talking about last night, the good versus evil. I'm a huge Batman fan. So for me, Doug is a combination of Bruce Wayne and Gordon,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking on my shelf for the copy of it, but have you read Black Mass? They made a Johnny Depp movie based roughly on it.
I've watched the movie, never read the book, but watched the book.
It's great. So you get this idea.
Yeah.
For Dirty Living, you get this character. Dirty Living, however, is not straight up mob story.
No.
It's supernatural too. Was that when it came to you, that was always part of it, or did that grow into it?
It kind of grew into the story. I didn't originally think of it, but I wanted something weird, some sort of element of supernatural, but I didn't know what it was. Of course, big fan of The Walking Dead, but I didn't want to go to zombies. I didn't want to go there. I wanted something a little bit different. So, definitely that's where I went to, and Ryan, when Ryan are talking about it, it's like, how about like Reanimator? That crazy movie. You ever see that?
Oh, you kidding me? One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Love that movie. Stuart Gordon, the director, who also did Beyond. He did a lot of Lovecraft stuff. Have you ever read the Herbert West Reanimator stories that Lovecraft wrote?
I have not. No.
Oh, definitely worth reading. They're just as wild. They don't have a head on a tray that goes after a young lady, which is probably my favorite scene in that.
Oh my God, that's for sure.
Absolutely harrowing.
Yeah.
All right, so the supernatural element grows into it. It's interesting you're talking about not wanting to do zombies. James and I have coming out a comic called that's funny. Hold on, Tom Lynett. Our the incredible letterer Tom Lynett. That's weird. I was just talking to my local comic shop guy about Reanimator a few hours ago. James and I are putting out a comic called Stripper Clip Sally. And we're really, really excited about it. It happened one night. We were talking about the gun that James put on the cover of Containment Breach 3, and he told me that it had a stripper clip. And I went, I'm sorry, what? I never heard that term before. And of course, my mind went immediately to strippers. And the whole thing came out of this. But I asked him, I said, okay, I have the basic plot line. What do you want to draw for a bad guy? There's an invasion happening. What do you want it to be? Because neither of us wanted it to be zombies. It's just done to death. Yeah. And he said, I've always wanted to draw aliens. And that's where that came. It could have been anything, and I would build a story out of it.
Yeah.
And that worked really well. James, do you have any questions for Stephen? I don't want to run over you.
I don't have specific ones about Dirty Living, but I was wondering, for the aspiring writers out there, how both of you guys come up with such original stories. You guys aren't just drawing. Drawing. It's on my mind. Not writing the kind of regular stuff. I enjoy, of course, I enjoy Christian stories. So that's why we're together as we are. But I got to see yours, Stephen, finally in its final form with the lettering and so forth. It came out really cool.
Thanks.
How do you guys stay away from I'll address it to both of you, but of course, Stephen, you can start. How do you stay away from the kind of status quo, things like zombies and, we live in this world of kind of rehashes of rehashes of rehashes. How do you guys come up with original concepts like that?
Well, I'm a little tapped on the head, as I think, but I've always, even like with music, with art, with anything that I do, I always want to come up with something that's original. And I beat myself up because sometimes, like, even when I'm just like, as you know, as you're a musician, right? You can't. The Beatles have done it. They've written every type of music there is, every chord progression, everything. So as a musician, you can get frustrated trying to come up with original music, right? It's the same thing with a story. It's like, has it been done before? How can I make this different? And it's always, so I try to go down a different road and try to think like, well, what hasn't been done before? And then, sometimes you're surprised. You think you have an original idea and you Google it and somebody's already done it. But for most part, you just hope that you've come up with something that's truly unique and original.
But if it's been done before, I remind myself it's all been done before. There's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
What can I bring to it that'll be different?
Right.
I have been lately obsessed with mushrooms, like literally the plant, the fungus mushrooms, and how they communicate under the ground. This incredible neural network. They even talk to the trees. I got really, really interested in it. And I decided that these aliens were going to be somewhat mushroom based. And I tell James this, and he's like, "Dude, have you seen the Last of Us?"
Yeah, the Last of Us.
I had not, and I'm like, "Oh crap!" And I thought about it, and I said, "You know what? I'm really making these. It's more comical. I'm not making them. I looked them up. I'm not making them look like that at all. Yeah. And I want to play with the absurdity of it because this is more comedic." And so I allowed myself to go in that direction. There are other times where I get an idea and I find out it's been done in such a way that I'm like, all right, I'm hands off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Dirty Living. We've got issue 1 in the can, pretty much. The final lettering pass came through. It looks beautiful. Ryan, I talked quite a bit last night on Michael Gracia's show. Michael Gracia, who's with us right now. Hello, Mr. Gracia. I talked quite a bit last night about Ryan's incredible art. He is absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead.
mind blowing. The minute I saw him, I mean, I'm going through Comic-Con in Rhode Island, 2017. I walked by his booth, and it was like a magnet just pulled me back because I saw this cover that it was like a picture of Negan, and it just grasped my attention. And then other things he had in his booth, and I'm like, hey, dude. And then we just started talking, and I said, would you be interested in seeing some stuff that I've written? And then we got together, and so on and so forth. Here it comes. But it got to a point though, like we like I could write boo on a and he would know exactly what I want to see on the page, which is kind of crazy. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
But seeing seeing like that last page on issue 1, like I had that in my head, and then of course Ryan developed something that was even 10 times even better. But it's just, it blows my mind to see it.
I mean, that's what I have with James.
Yeah.
I give him something. One of the examples I love to talk about is, and this leads me into my next question, is I wrote that this guy was on the subway, and that there's a girl standing next to him near the door, and Death is holding onto the pool. Right. Well, he zeroed in on this girl by the door. He has it looking through the closed doors, so through the window, and there is such emotion on her face. I don't mean like she's weeping or something. Just she's emoting. She's so three-dimensional and alive that all of a sudden I went, holy crap, I have to make her a character in the story. She wasn't supposed to have anything to do with it. She was what's the word I'm looking for? Stage dressing,
Yeah.
But I was like, I have to write this person. So you just got issue 1 of Dirty Living. How did this affect Dirty Living issue 2? Did anything he drew change plot points for you, or alter it in some way, or give you ideas? Or
yes, to some degree, yes. I mean, it's like I think that also, like with the editing that we did with Mancini, the other cop, he's going to play more of a role coming down the road. But there's a couple characters I think that are going to take on a bigger role, especially our sexy stalker.
And can you attribute any of that to the way Ryan drew it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That I think we've shown the image in some advertisement, but with Rachel on the rooftop.
Yeah.
That panorama kind of thing.
Love
that just blew my mind. I was like, wow.
I advised against that page layout in the script. So I'm the editor on the series, folks. And I advised, I said, it's too busy and it's taking away from what's happening with Doug. And Steven really liked it. And I'm a writer. And I was like, you know what? If you really like it and you can work it out with Ryan, okay. I think it's too much. Man, do I stand completely corrected. Ryan figured out the layout on that page.
Yeah.
So that it not only does it not take away, but it punctuates the page.
Yeah.
And it gives a sense of so much going on, including something you didn't know about a minute before. And it doesn't take away from the main action. So that was stupendous. I really thought that was great.
Yeah. I mean, when Ryan, like, when I know when Ryan comes back to me and says, oh yeah. The kind of like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. Like I can make it happen. And he doesn't push back, then I'm like, okay, then I have all the faith in the world that he's going to just make it happen, but if he comes back and says, hey, it's just way too much going on, that's one thing I did learn, kind of working with Ryan right away, which came up in your last episode, too much going on in one little statement, you know, and that comes from writing, you know, prose, you know.
When I started writing comics, I mean, it was so hard for me. I was chanting in my head, still image, still image, still image, because I come from writing prose and screenplays.
Yeah.
And then in screenplays, you could say that he ran down the street, jumped over a garbage can, and did X, Y, and Z, right? Not only can you not do that in a panel, obviously, but you have to pick the moments of his running.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to show him run down the entire street. How far ahead can you jump so that the reader doesn't get confused? How many images do you need of a particular action? So it's not just remembering still image. It's remembering that you need multiple still images to get a character from one place to the other.
Right.
But which ones do you need?
Yeah.
Right. I don't need to. I can show the guy in front of his apartment at his front door with his hand on the knob, and then show him in the kitchen. People will figure that out. But I can't have it jump even further than that. I'd have to walk him there. So that is absolutely a tough one to get a handle on.
Yep.
What was I going to ask? So, what is the future of Dirty Living? What do you see? Where do you see this going?
Well, it's definitely going to. It's definitely going to go right down the you know, story arc that we were talking about. I mean, it's got a good at least 8 to 10 issues in my mind. I see some I don't know, like spin-offs, really. I see spin-offs in my head because there's some really cool stuff with some characters and so I you know, at least right now that I have 8 to 10 issues for this story arc. So
you do see it as something. This isn't an 8 to 10 issues and done. That there could be other stories in this world.
Oh, definitely, yeah. There's a lot more stories. I you know, this is to me, it's just the beginning. I mean, there's so much more, and this is what I get frustrated with because I'm trying to jam all this stuff in, and I'm like, no, pull back. You can write more issues, but I just have to remember that. I'm like, okay, listen, you know, I have so much, and I'm like, just spread it out, let this breathe a little, because there's so much more to this story, and I just need to, for myself personally, as you know, part of me growing, I have to learn to let it breathe a little bit more, and know it's okay. I want to give you action packed. I want to give you some blood and guts and a good story, but I, you know, also it's like, okay, save a little bit of that for the next issue, and then so on and so forth.
Have you read the Criminal series? The series called Criminal by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
I'm familiar with it, but I haven't read it yet.
That's where My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies is part of that world.
Yeah.
What they did was they created, there's a family, a guy, and he's got a kid, and he has these other connections. And each book is about, it's revolving around that universe. So a character that was introduced briefly in one book has the main story in the next book.
Right.
Really tremendous. It works well. What's interesting, though, and I mentioned this before, is that you've got this crime story, and now you got me thinking in these terms because you brought up Reanimator, that has a Lovecraftian twist to it. And I don't mean like a twist ending. I mean that it's the crime genre has been twisted to include this. And that's such a cool thing. And I don't want to give it away, but the last page, Ryan included something in that page that made me, as a Lovecraft fan, go out of my mind excited. And I won't say what it is.
Agreed.
What you mentioned, this great vampire title. You're thinking about doing that as a comic.
Yeah.
Let me end by asking you this. Stories come to me in their formats. Like I'll get an idea and I'm like, that's prose. That's a short story. That's a screenplay. That's a comic. Does this thing happen with you, or do you have to sort of decide as you get your ideas?
It wasn't until kind of recently when I realized that a lot of my stories that I've written that I haven't finished really should be in comic book graphic novel. And that's what hit me like with Black Vein. But yeah, no, some of them I'm like, no, this is definitely a story, this is a novel. But more and more that all these ideas, all these stories I've had written down, I'm like, no, I just got to pull those out and put them into script form because that's where they live.
Aha.
Yeah. I got that Icebox Annie, which is a short, but we got to talk about that going forward.
Yeah, you sent that to me, and I had right. That's the short you sent to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with that. That was terrific. You do like me. You have a screwed up mind, which I appreciate greatly. I can't tell you how much fun I have reading your scripts. The stuff that you've got in there, I'm like, this is going to be gruesome, and I'm here for it.
That's a great title, Icebox Annie.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. That was just something I wrote that in one sitting. I was just like, I had this idea, and I'm like, I just wanted to get it all out of my mind, and I'm like, yeah, this is like a little short. I almost was going to see if Ryan wanted to just draw it and then just make something of it. But we've been, obviously too busy with trying to get Dirty Lemon off the ground. So,
well, I asked you guys in a meeting at some point when that came up. We are going to be putting out another anthology magazine situation of short comics.
Yeah.
In the Containment Breach series, or we got a couple ideas rattling around, but we're going to be doing more short comics. And I said to Ryan, I said to you, I said, you guys, do you want me? It feels like cheating. James and I have dealt with this. So do you want me to set Steven up with another artist so he can get more of his work out there? And Ryan was like, no, I'm drawing it. So he has already said he's got Icebox Annie. And I would love to see that in the book.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
What where do you see I just lost my question completely, forgive me. I love talking to you. This was terrific.
Yeah.
And whatever that question was, hopefully it wasn't too important. Please be sure to smash that. What happened here? To our beloved legions of fans, please be sure to smash that like button. I just came up with that. And hey, subscribe. Why don't you? Thank you, Seahorse. I never remember to say that. Seahorse, you've just completely saved me. I never remember how to do this YouTube thing. Yes, hit the like button. Yes, subscribe to Fugitive Poems for more incredible content like that. Oh, hey, Mark. Seahorse.
So I do want to say something to you, Mark, and James and Christian. Thank you guys for picking up the story and seeing our vision and making it come to light, because really it's a story that had to get out there, and I'm so happy to see issue 1 ready to be published, and so I'm excited, and I just want to thank you guys personally.
Well, thank you, Stephen. I gotta tell you, it's as much fun for me reading your scripts as it is working on my own stuff. I look forward to getting your work in, and you and Ryan needed this out there, and we're honored to be it. It's amazing, Stephen, and thank you.
All right, thank you.
And what's great about this story is like it feels like something that Christian and I could have written and drawn as well. It's definitely a fugitive poem, which is really cool. We don't just put anything out there with our name on it. And you guys doing the brand proud.
All right. Well, we're glad to be part of the family. So
yeah, this is awesome. I was actually flipping through the pages as you guys were talking. It's very exciting.
Awesome.
And that old lady walking the dog, man, that one shot. I every time I think of the book, I think of that shot of her just cancer smoking wrinkled face. That's amazing.
Dude, that was like such an afterthought, but it had to be put in there. I'm like, I don't know where it came from, but I'm like, And then Ryan took it to the next level. I was like, yeah.
And last time, and I will end with this. I know we should end because people don't have the patience to watch long videos. But I will say this: we talked about favorite directors last time we talked, and to me, the great directors will get in shots like that. Just go through a crowd, and there's just something that stands out, and it sets the tone. And that's how I felt about this panel of this old bag. That, I mean, absolutely could be plucked right out, and the story wouldn't change at all. It is completely unnecessary to the plot. She's not a character, but it gave such a feel for the neighborhood.
Right.
And that was like, yes. So, and Ryan absolutely killed that. So Ryan is here with us. So I want to make sure to shout him out. Hello, Ryan. And I don't know how long you were able to get on for, but just be aware, Steven said some terrible, terrible things about you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have had with us Steven Beccia. I am so glad to have had you on. I thank you. I am Christian Matteo, co-founder of Fugitive Poems. That is James Lyons, co-founder of Fugitive Poems. Go to fugitivepoems.com. Get Containment Breach. You can get 1 through 4 digital, and you can get 3 and 4 physical. 1 and 2 are first printing is sold out, which we're really, really proud of. We go there and check out all the great comics. Dirty Living. You can see I've got some of the early production images, pencils from Dirty Living on the fugitivepoems.com website. And make sure to like this video. Make sure to share it with your friends. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies. Everyone should hear Steven Beccia talk about his writing. And subscribe to Fugitive Poems on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. We are Fugitive Poems, and we make comics.
See you later, guys. Thanks.
Right.
And we're out.